Join me, Linda Cohn, on the SportsCenter podcast with Jeff Saturday and Dan Graziano. Find out who deserves more credit for the Cowboys' success. Is it Dak or is it Zeke? And which team has most to lose in the second half of the season? Click the Listen tab on ESPN.com.
Page, Adande Isola. Today,
James Harden with a gorgeous move.
Harden the interruption.
Beat anybody in the NBA right now and forever.
Everybody's picked the Clippers.
Geese set off across the green.
And
Don't take the ball.
Nope.
Don't take the ball.
Let's go around the horn.
It's like a mini Jurassic Park.
So the plural is mongoose. You guys heard that, right? Mongoose.
It's Around the Horn, the show of competitive banter. Here's Tony Reali.
Oh, yeah. James Harden making his case as NBA's best player. Oh, yeah. 24-12-15 last night versus San Antonio for the season. 31-8-13, which is the third per in the league, per the per. Any of you going to jump on the Harden as best player in the league train? I'll just throw it out there right now.
Yeah.
Anybody? You, Woody? Go ahead. Let's go.
Yeah. I mean, here's a guy that upped his numbers so much since D'Antoni's come there, and you go, well, Mike D'Antoni, what do you expect? But he did produce 2 MVPs in Steve Nash back-to-back, so you have to realize that there's a real possibility he's going to have another one with Harden this year, and I thought D'Antoni was right. He calls him a points guard because if you look at it, he's upped his numbers to more than 30 points a game, to more than 13 assists a game, and 8 rebounds a game. Those numbers are dramatically up from last year, even though he had great numbers last year. He has had out of his 8 games so far, 6 of them double-digit assist nights, and he's offering the ball around. He's got 5 guys that he's had more than double-digit assists to. So he is finding the open man, and they surround him with guys that when he doesn't finish at the basket, he get it back out.
Okay, save the rest for your FaceTime, Woody Page. We got one saying Harden is the best player in the NBA today. Adon, did you agree?
I wouldn't call him the best. For right now, that crown still belongs to LeBron James. To take it from, you're going to have to beat him in a 7-game series. That's something that's happened only twice in the last 20 series that LeBron has played. But LeBron is not going to go for the MVP. He's content to let Kyrie Irving do the heavy lifting throughout the regular season to preserve himself for the playoffs. Therefore, James Harden can be the MVP. I differentiate between those two. I think he is the MVP. I think he will wind up being the MVP. James Harden plus Mike D'Antoni's system is a perfect fit. You see him putting up 30-point, 15-assist games on the regular, and they're winning this year, unlike last year, and they've been winning games despite playing only 1 game at home. They've got a winning record. I think they'll stay in the top 4 in the Western Conference. That would enable him to be the MVP.
Okay. Frank, can I ask you, has Harden made a jump here, or is this just the D'Antoni effect?
Well, it's a combination of the two. The best player in the NBA was at the White House today meeting with the president. The best offensive player in the NBA was tearing up the San Antonio Spurs, one of the better team defensive clubs that you're going to find out there. And look at the numbers that he's put up. Offense comes so easily to James Harden. It's not just the scoring. He already has 5 15 assist games already. He's done that 5 times. The rest of the NBA has done it once. So he's sharing the ball. He's scoring. He's at a different level. And what Woody said is true. Steve Nash won 2 MVPs under Mike D'Antoni. James Harden is a better player than Steve Nash.
So if Woody said it was true, then Woody's getting the point. But you're calling him the best offensive player in the NBA. That's what I heard. So not Durant, not Steph Curry. Ramona Shelburne, we turn to you now.
Yeah, if it's a free throw shooting contest, I mean, he gets to the free throw line better than anybody else. But I think right now, look, this is a guy who wasn't even All-NBA last year. Now, I voted him onto my All-NBA team last year, but there's a reason why. He needs to show this to me over the course of a whole season. If you go to general managers right now and say, who's the best player in the NBA, I don't think you're getting anybody right now who's saying James Harden. He's just a guy in a system with the ball in his hand, and Mike D'Antoni has basically said before this year, I want him to average 10 assists a game. And at the beginning of the year, James Harden said, "Coach is tripping." Right? I mean, this is right. Like this is a good start to the beginning of the year. He's got a lot of shooters around him. They're playing a great style for his type of game. But until he brings it consistently.
So you're thinking this is more the D'Antoni effect to answer that question? Adon, they said top 4 in the West. Does anybody else believe that? Woody Page, first to you.
Yeah, I think they are. And Frank, you're saying he's the best offensive player. D'Antoni is lauding him for his defensive play. And last night on Leonard, he came up with a big stop at the end of the game. So a guy that's playing both ends of the floor, you've got to say that he's the best
Frank,
player
top four in the West?
You know what? I think they're capable of that. Remember, they have played 7 of their 8 games on the road. Their schedule's been tougher than any team's schedule to start the season since the 1970-71 Cavaliers. That's even before LeBron James was born.
Is that true?
One stat about James Harden from last year, when you talk about competing, in an era where everybody takes games off, he played in all 82 games last season. So he gets out there and he competes.
And Shelburne, top 4 in the West?
You know, I liked Houston at the beginning of the season. Then I watched them in person here at Staples Center lose to the Lakers on opening night. I also look at their roster. I look at their roster.
The Warriors have lost to the Lakers, so if you're going to take everybody who's lost to the Lakers out.
Look, I like the Warriors. I like the Warriors. I like the Rockets. I think the Rockets were that sleeper team everybody was picking this year. Yeah. But they've got fragile players. They've got guys like Eric Gordon and Ryan Anderson who they're counting on to play.
Adonde, I heard
roles.
3 members of this panel say that they think top 4 is a real possibility. 3 points going your way. We'll move on. Clippers 111, Blazers 80 last night. LA's 6th win by double digits. Scoring margin for the season is 16-9, which is first in the league by a wide margin. Is anybody on this panel jumping on the Clippers for best team in the NBA train? That's I'm going to ask it again here. Okay, who wants in? First, Isolo, you can go.
Yeah. Absolutely. Look what they're doing. They're blowing teams out. They went into San Antonio and beat the Spurs by 24 points. You know, here come the Portland Trailblazers into playing them last night. Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum came in averaging a combined 55 points. They held them to 16. The difference with this team is Doc Rivers has his team buying into playing team defense. And you look at what happened last year. Chris Paul was injured in the playoffs. Blake Griffin had a disastrous season. He was injured during the playoffs. This team has a feeling like, you know what? It's now or never for us, and they're taking the regular season very seriously. They're the best
team in the NBA right now. Not Cleveland, not Golden State.
Nope.
Not the Houston Rockets, who everybody just loved 2 minutes ago. All right, Donne, best team in the NBA
I can buy that. Look, isn't the metric we use that's usually the most reflective of a team's ability, scoring margin, right, point differential? So, yes, they're dominating that category. And Frank talked about the defense. I really think it's a byproduct of the tenure that they've had together now. They've spent so much time, and rather than kind of pulling apart and getting sick of each other like a long car ride with the kids in the back seat, they're using that togetherness to tighten up their defense. You're seeing much more effort from Blake Griffin all over the court, diving for loose balls, grabbing rebounds at a higher rate than he had the previous 2 seasons. And the defense has allowed them to ride some spotty shooting performances. And now, once the shooting came around, you're seeing what's happened. They've had leads of 48 and 41 points in the last 2 games. They're dominating right now. And, of course, we'll see if that holds up throughout the playoffs. They do have the capability of getting even better.
As best team in the NBA, Woody Page, you going to make it 3?
Sure I am, but I'd like to give some love to the Charlotte Hornets, a team that's never been in this position in November in the history of the club. But, yes, because they're playing both ends of the floor and they're doing extremely well, when you're holding teams under 90 points a game, when you've had 4 games where you've led by at least 18 points at halftime, that means they're getting off to great starts. And talking about keeping this team healthy is most important. We've seen that over the last 3 or 4 years, Blake Griffin specifically. So he needs to, watch that going on the floor all the time, because it's more important when you got him having 22 points a game, 13 rebounds. You want this guy in your lineup, because when they get to playoff time without him, they're not very good. But I think Doc Rivers has shifted the attention from scoring a lot of points to playing tough team defense, and I'm on the Plaschke bandwagon from what he said yesterday.
I was going to ask, can I say this? Players. Yesterday, Plaschke used his FaceTime to say the Clippers were the best team in the NBA. I thought we were all laughing with him. I really thought, or laughing at him, or laughing near him at the very least. He said they had the best 4 players in the NBA, 4 group, I should say. And I was like, Golden State is not the best foursome? We'll go to Ramona Shelburne. Are you going to make it 4 for 4 here, saying the Clippers are the best team?
No, Jay, I can't even believe you went there, too. You covered the Clippers as long as I have, right? I mean, don't you remember a couple of years ago when they were up 3-1 on Houston, and then they did the Clipper thing, right? Blew that lead. Until the Clippers prove to me they can win and get over that hump, we've all seen them be a great regular season team before. We've seen them do this. We haven't seen them break through in the playoffs. Still haven't been out of the second round. So, yeah, they're playing great. They own Portland. They've owned Portland the last couple of years. It's a great matchup for them. They beat San Antonio. San Antonio's still figuring out how to integrate 6 new players. But last I checked, Cleveland's the defending champion, and they're off to a great start. Why are we forgetting on them?
And now that we've already discussed it, but why are we even naming best teams in the NBA in November?
Right.
You asked it, not us.
We can.
We'll move on. Bulls at Heat tonight. The return of Dwayne Wade. He and Pat Riley haven't talked since it all went down. Does that surprise anybody? Didn't think so. We'll start with you, Woody Page. How should Wade, how should Riley, how should fans feel about tonight?
Well, the fans should give him an extremely warm welcome, and I'm sure they will. In regard to the fans, I think they're caught in the middle of this, that they love Dwayne Wade and what he gave them in 13 seasons, 3 NBA championships, one without the other 2 big guys, and I think that they are not going to turn on Pat Riley because of what he's done and what they expect him to do once again. That now they're somewhat in a drought, but I think they're going to come back. So I think the Miami Heat people who do show up late will get there and say, yeah, we're okay with both these guys. We have had a great run with both Pat Riley and Dwayne Wade.
Okay.
Let's give them all a round of applause.
Ramona, is that how you see tonight playing out?
No, I think it's kind of sad. To be honest, like Tony, I like you. When I say something dumb, you just mute me, right? You just to the point. Pat Riley didn't even call Dwayne Wade. He hasn't called him since. And then goes to the press conference and talks about him like he's a son. Dwayne and him have always had that relationship. And so for him not to call during free agency and then throughout the season, but then gush about him to the media, that's sad. If they didn't want him to come back, just be direct with him. He did enough for that franchise that he could have been spoken to directly and said, hey, Dwayne, I think we need to move in another direction. They didn't do that.
Isola?
Well, they wanted him back, but at their number and for their amount of years. And I think tonight, everyone should look at it like it was a beautiful marriage that they had. They won 3 championships. The guy was the 5th overall pick in 2003. You got everything you could out of Dwayne Wade. To me, he's the greatest athlete in the history of South Florida. I'm sorry about that, Dan Marino. But if I'm Pat Riley, Riley has to make the tough calls. And at some point, you have to move on from the aging legend. And he did it 1 year, probably too early, as opposed to a year too late. I think it was perfect.
Adonde, how about you?
Frank, I doubt the Miami Dolphins will be retiring Dwayne Wade's jersey like the Heat did for Dan Marino. So easy, Romeo, on that. But certainly the Heat fans will be appreciative if they could cheer LeBron James when he jilted them more than Dwayne Wade did. Dwayne Wade gave them a lot, and I think they recognize he was never their highest paid player. He never got that show of respect from the franchise, so he was certainly entitled to go get more money elsewhere. And the reason Pat Riley didn't do what the Lakers did and overpay their aging star while they went through a rebuilding process is he's never a guy that's like draft picks. The Lakers benefited by getting high draft picks. Pat Riley doesn't like to build through the draft. He likes to build through free agency. Having Dwayne Wade gone and maybe they get out Chris Bosh gives them the chance to build through free agency now.
Donde 20, you'll stop right there, but you get the lead at this break. Buy or sells next.
Well, I'm ahead.
Hey, football fans, this is Mel Kiper Jr. On the latest First Draft podcast, Todd McShay and I break down the top NFL rookies at the midway point of the season and also examine some juniors who could have a major impact on the big boards come springtime.
Buy or sell.
Two-faced, fake, shallow. Andrew Bogut talking about the snipes he felt on the way out of Golden State. His return last night, DNP coach's decision. Ramona, buy or sell Bogut here?
Yeah, I'm selling on this. Like if you're Andrew Bogut's one of those guys, very sensitive guy. He doesn't like hearing criticism. He's always been that way. And the question was, people question your durability, and nobody needs to question your durability. You get hurt. Like, that happens.
Woody Page?
Ramona, I've never met anybody from Australia that was sensitive to what people said about him. I love me some Australians, and I love Bogart. I'm buying everything he said last night. He's truthful about what he says, and he set out last night because they set out 3 people prepared for this, 5 people, including 2 ESPN writers.
Go ahead, Don.
I'm buying Bogut as the NBA player who least likes playing in the NBA. This isn't the first time you've heard him talk about the character of all the guys in the league. He seems like he's always complaining about what the people are like. But I'll also buy the fact that he's able to rationalize that, yes, he understands why the Warriors got rid of him. That doesn't mean he has to like it. It's possible to see it both objectively and subjectively.
Isola.
Come on, Jay. He's being brutally honest, mate. Think about what happened to Andrew Bogut. All last season, as you're going to win 73 games, all everybody's talking about, they're going to go after Kevin Durant. And if they do that, that means Bogut and Harrison Barnes may have to be gone. So here you are, going to battle every night. You set this record, you go to the finals, and they wave goodbye to you. He has every reason to be upset.
You're going to say it. You got to play in the game that night, I think. We'll move on. Buy or sell 2. Quote, we're not the hardest playing team no more. Tweet, we ain't got no heart right now. Celtics have lost their last 2 by a combined 41. Isaiah Thomas, Marcus Smart not feeling it. Woody, you buying or selling these Celtics?
I'm selling them. Everybody thought they were the soup du jour when the season started. I never liked them much at all, except for the addition of Al Horford. But without him, this team doesn't really have a leader. They don't have somebody that's strong inside. And last night, Tony, they scored 8 points in the first quarter. That's the lowest total in 4 decades of Celtics basketball. You gotta sell them.
But you did say they were missing 2 key cogs in their machine. How about you, Adande?
I'll buy them for the long term. If effort is the problem right now, that's the easiest thing in the NBA to fix. So I can buy them starting to play harder. I don't know what it's going to take for them. Maybe the fact that they sort of understand that effort alone in the playoffs isn't enough. They don't have enough talent to just show up and roll past teams. But once they get it together, once they integrate the new pieces and get healthy, I think you'll see better performances.
So
it's not about effort. It's about personnel. You know, they came into the season as a poor rebounding team. They were out-rebounded by 30 last night. They gave up 19 offensive rebounds. No Al Horford, no Crowder. And as Isaiah Thomas said today, we really miss Evan Turner. That was a guy that came off the bench, could make plays. He's left. He's in Portland right now. They miss him.
How do we feel this tour of Isola's accents? He did the Australian accent. He just did a Boston accent. Not so much either.
How about the New York accent?
Boston's all right. Look, they were 34-8 in that first quarter. You know what happened to the Celtics in the first quarter? They missed 8 3-pointers. When you miss 8 3-pointers and then you get discouraged and then you don't play defense, it feeds. This is how NBA players work. If you miss shots, you get discouraged. You don't go get your rebounds, then you lose games and you get blown out. Like, I think a lot of times when people say we don't have effort, we're not playing hard, that's just their way of saying we don't want to make an excuse for the fact that we got a bunch of guys out and we're not playing at full strength right now.
They get Horford back. They get Crowder back. This is a playoff team, right? Nobody's questioning that. We're going to move on. Buy or sell 3, $100 million. That's what Aroldis Chapman is hoping someone will pay a closer this winter. Number never even touched that for a closer. $50 million. It's the most we've seen for Papelbon. Reports are the Cubs not leaning towards paying that and looking elsewhere for a closer. Jay, buy or sell?
I'll buy that. Look, all the smart money executives don't like overspending on closers. And also, it's not like he was lights out during the playoffs. Had an earned run average of 3.5. Lost leads against the Giants, the Dodgers, and, of course, lost lead in Game 7 against Cleveland.
Isola?
Yeah, they ran him into the ground in the World Series. That's why they don't want him back. Either the Dodgers or the Yankees they're going to make a play, and he's going to be the first closer to get $100 million. It's hard to believe, but somebody's going to pony up the money and give it to him.
So you think that's happening? How about you, Ramona?
Yeah, I think I'm buying it. I think somebody will give it to him. I don't think it will be the Dodgers. They already decided how they felt about Aroldis Chapman when they backed away from the trade last year after the revelations about his domestic abuse case came out. Somebody will pay him. It probably will not be L.A., though.
Woodrow.
I totally disagree. You think Austin Powers is going to come out and say, $100 million? No, I don't think so. There's never been a relief pitcher that's gotten that much. It won't happen again. He'll be lucky if he gets $75 million over 3-4 years, because eventually he's not going to be throwing 100 miles an hour, and really he can't depend on that slider. I don't see the Yankees or the Dodgers wanting to invest that much in anybody.
They are. Yes, they are.
Woody Page, 26. Frank Isola, 21. Not cutting it right here. We got a Shelburne Adonde showdown.
Get out of here. Isola.
I'm Andy Katz from ESPN, along with my co-host Seth Greenberg. On Courtside with Katz and Coach G, we'll be joined by Arizona head coach Sean Miller and Indiana head coach Tom Crean in advance of the Armed Forces Classic in Honolulu.
Shelburne Adonde showdown. It's Thursday night football-ish. Browns-Ravens. Cleveland seeking win number 1. Could tonight be the night, Ramona?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to say the Cleveland Browns are going to win. The last 2 times when this team has played in primetime, they got that first win of the season. The Browns were up 20 points in the last time they played the Ravens, so let's say they hold on this time.
No, Ramon, I think we saw in the World Series that the year of Cleveland is back to being just Cleveland now. And the Ravens have the second best run defense in the league. They'll be able to load up and force whoever's quarterback in the Browns at this point, whatever number they're up to pass. It's not going to go well.
Point to Adonde. Showdown 2. Whoa! Mongeese playing through. Jay Adonde? Okay or nope?
I'm okay with it. Mongooses is also acceptable. Tony, did you know a curiosity of mongoose? That's the collective noun when describing a bunch of mongooses. There are up to 34 species of mongooses in the world. That might have been the white-banded mongoose, I believe. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah, I'm going to say that I'm fine with it because I'm not going to be the one to stop them. Like, who's going to go out and just stop those monkeys from running through the golf course? I also think that it's funny that Professor Adonde is the one who actually looks up facts while I pull a Woody and come up with a bunch of puns for the monkeys. There's mongoose gossage. There is Retief Mongoosian.
Okay.
Right?
Let's just stop you right now. First, Adonde had my attention. Now he has my curiosity. Point. Showdown 3. Better dancer. Warriors fan or Hornets fan? Ramona, go.
Look at that girl. Look at her. She is working it. She is flexible. That's like somebody's mom right there. She's up in front of the entire crowd there in Golden State working it. Oh, look at that move. Look at it.
Well, Ramona, as refreshing as it is to see a woman actually supporting a woman, you have to go with the guy there. I mean, the arm action, the gyrations, he was giving you so much more there in that little 30 seconds of dance cam. The guy went out this time.
They always do.
Not touching any of this. I'm not. That's the final score. Adonde's taking the FaceTime.
Well, Tony, as someone in the world of academia, albeit at a considerably lower salary than Nick Saban, I was extremely disappointed to see him come out and say that he wasn't even aware that an election was going on this week. And furthermore, he doesn't think it's his place to choose a candidate, to pick between the presidential nominees. He says he's not qualified. Well, if you're not qualified, what are you doing at a university, a place of education, particularly when you're one of the highest paid people at any university in the country? You're supposed to be providing an atmosphere of learning, of responsibility. We all have a civic duty to go out and vote, to educate yourselves. He's not doing so. He's setting a terrible example. Terrible.
We were talking about this earlier. Frank, you had said that he wasn't going to get into politics at the dinner table.
Yeah, not at the dinner table, not at your press conference. I think this has a lot to do with he doesn't want to tick off his players or the Alabama fan base, so he's keeping his vote to himself. He knew it was Election Day.
Steve Kerr and Stan Van Gundy did it much better.
We've been on. We're taking a break. We're saying goodbye. 23 and a half hour. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Ramona.
Ole Miss heads to College Station Saturday night to face Texas A&M.
Stiff arm, down he goes! Down he goes!
Coverage begins Saturday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.